Hi, this is Jeff Olson, founder and CEO of Nerium International. I want to congratulate you for being at this point. To be listening to these CDs means you've already received our kit, which means you're part of the Nerium family. And we really welcome you to this group of extraordinary people and the opportunity we have in front of you. You know, when you look in our kit and when you go through our corporate brochure, one of the things you'll see is we have these, what we call the core values. You know, the core values is something that was very important to us. We just didn't put those in towards the end. Those are the very first things we did. And those are the values that we drove the entire company on, the people we work with, and what we represent, and the people we want to attract. So I hope you find the core values as positive as we do. You know, this kit is designed to give you everything you need to be successful with Nerium International. You know, I've been very fortunate in this industry. I've been a very top distributor in this industry a couple different times, building global organizations. I've been the CEO of a very large, couple $100 million company in this industry. I've been the founder of a very successful direct sales company in this industry. And I've just been, you know, in the industry for a long time at a distributor level, at an officer level, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. You know, sometimes it's just important to know what not to do as what to do. This kit is designed with all the best things in mind. And here's what I can say to you. I really do know where you're at, especially a brand new person who's never done anything like this before in their life. You know, I've been there when you've never been in this industry, you've never sold anything in this industry, you've never sponsored anybody, and I know what you have to go through to be successful. And what we want to do is give you in this kit everything you need to be successful. And it's really a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's different for everybody. We all have a different path on our way to the top. But I've found with everybody, there's a certain few things that are very similar. What I mean by that is every new person that gets involved in the company, regardless of your background, your circumstances, you're at your highest level of anxiety. What you want to do is reduce that anxiety through knowledge. And there's 4 different types of knowledge. There's one, learned knowledge. That's what you're doing right now. That's the tapes you listen to, the books you read, the events you go to. That's learned knowledge. The other side of that equation is activity knowledge, and that is taking what you've learned and applying those activities into activity knowledge. And so you learn something, then you go do it. But here's the key thing. You go back and you learn it again, the exact same thing. So when you learn something, you go out and do an activity, then you go back and relearn it again. The knowledge is different based upon the activity they went through. And then the learned knowledge takes you to a different place. When you go out and do the activity, you go to a different place. And so you go learn knowledge, then activity knowledge, then learn knowledge, and activity knowledge. And they work in congruency with each other. And what you'll find is you can't learn something the first time. You got to learn it, then do it, come back, relearn it, and do it. What I have found, most people, it takes them about 5 times to really learn something and to really learn the activity. So what I'd suggest to you is be patient. Just listen to these CDs and then go out and do the activity, and then come back and listen to the CDs and then go out and do the activity. And what you'll find over time, all of a sudden, the activities that didn't work at first will work very well for you. What I suggest also, turn your car into a drive time university. Just, you know, every day we're in the car 15, 20, 30 minutes, sometimes way more than that. And you can turn this into productive time. So this could be your learned knowledge, and you go out and do your activity. From there, what you do is you start modeling. Find people around you who already are enjoying success. You know, you can learn from them. You know, I've always said if somebody wrote a book and it took them whole life to learn that knowledge for that book, why wouldn't you just read the book to learn what they know? Same thing in modeling. Somebody's come before you, they're doing the right activities, learn from them. So learn knowledge, activity knowledge, then modeling. Then the last one is teaching knowledge. Eventually, as you build an organization, you start teaching people how to be successful. And here's what I can tell you. When you go to teaching, all of a sudden, everything works for you. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do as you go through this information. Treat it like a business. You know, this is a business, and it can give you huge rewards, but you also got to give your time to be successful. And what we've done in this kit is we've given you everything you need. And this, in my opinion, is the most professional kit I've ever seen put together for a startup company in this industry. It's been very well thought through. Everything in there had to fight to be in there. Everything in there was designed on experiences that have worked in the past. So in this kit, you have all this different information. And these CDs here, what I want to do was talk to you right now, but then I'm going to go to a talk that I did to a lot of people at a conference in the direct sales industry. And there I really talk about the philosophies and the principles that really I've experienced and seen other people do to become successful in this industry. Then I come out of that talk back into a studio, and I talk to you about a thing we call our 10 core commitments. So we have our core values and we have our core commitments. And these are something I've written back in 1992 that have served so well through different companies, different products, different continents, different languages. They've worked every single time. It's what we have based the foundation of our learned knowledge and activity knowledge on. But before we go there, though, what I want to do is something that's very important. What I have found, doesn't matter what you learn, doesn't matter the activities, doesn't matter the modeling or teaching, if you don't have a couple things. You have to have desire. Desire is what gets you up early and keeps you up late. It's the thing that gets you through the obstacles. And faith. Faith is believing in what you're doing. And there can't be a disconnect between desire and faith. And so you have desire to become successful. You got to have faith that the vehicle you're using to obtain what you desire is something that you really can do. So what I want to talk about is why Nerium International is special. Now I just want to kind of slow down and tell you the story. You probably have seen all our information on the website. You've seen our videos. You've gone through our brochures, and it's a fantastic story. But I kind of want to tell you the story behind the story. What happened a couple of years ago, I wasn't looking for anything. I was very happy where I was at, and I was approached by some gentlemen representing Nerium Biotechnology Company. And I didn't know who they were, and they met with me at a law firm. We spent about 5 hours together, and they proceeded to tell me the history of the Nerium Olander plant and what it had done and historically, and then how the science latched onto it back in the 50s and 60s, and how it evolved, and how eventually Dr. Newman at MD Anderson picked it up in 1998, and all the research that came out of that, and the things they experienced, and all the peer review articles and the publications that happened. And they talked to me about that, and I was very interested. I thought it was a phenomenal story. But then they got to what they talked about was their Eureka Moment. And they described how through this process, working on other things, they discovered that this was a miraculous anti-aging product in skin. And so they talked about that and how they tested that and studied it even more. And they even talked about how head of research for a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company was there with Dr. Newman looking at all this research, and they were kind of talking back and forth about it. And this individual said, the dermal applications of this is bigger than our entire product line combined. And they realized they had something. And see, for me, I heard that story, and I'm sitting there thinking about our industry, because our industry is a beautiful industry. It's a $125 billion industry, growing when other things aren't growing. And in our industry, the beauty part of our industry is the biggest part. Beauty and health is about 9 out of the top 10 companies are in beauty and health. When you get into beauty and health, the biggest category is skin. In beauty and health, there's basically 3 categories. You have skin or dermal applications, then you have your colors, and then you have your fragrances. And so the biggest area inside of beauty is dermal or skin. The biggest area inside of that is anti-aging. Believe it or not, the fastest growing area inside that is men now. If you go to a department store now, you see all these men products for anti-aging in the dermal applications. I've owned a med spa now for over 7 years with my daughter, Amber, and we say that all the time, how people are so attracted to things to make themselves look better, and we've seen over and over how many more men are involved. But quite honestly, in the direct sales industry, about 80% of the participants are women. But again, this is a very big growing segment for men. So I knew that. So I said to them, if you can document everything you've told me, if you can put it in writing and document every single part of it, and also prove it scientifically how it works, we have something here. This is something that could really become a major company in the direct sales industry. And I knew at that time they had other options. They could go retail. There's a lot of retail organizations out there or entities would love to grab what they have. They could go to infomercials. That's another way they could go. Or they could go to other big direct sales companies. But what I was one of the options they were looking at. So I sat there and listened to it, and I really thought I didn't have a chance of getting this because they had such an amazing opportunity. But what happened over the next few months as they were researching everything else, myself and Dennis Knoke, the CEO of Nerium Biotechnology, we became very close. We started to really know each other. And I took him to some events where I was involved, and he saw what I did. And then they researched all the people that know me. They talked to some of the biggest CEOs in the industry. And we kept on talking about the possibilities of a startup company. A company could build its own brand that could take a product line, not just one product, but a product line, and go global with it. And so, they kept on doing their research and thinking. I kept talking to them about the potential and opportunities. And one day, after months and months of them doing their research and us talking back and forth, they called me and said, we think we want to go with you. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing if we could build a relationship. So we kept talking and talking. And we finally came with the idea of being partners, not them just being a supplier and us being a reseller, but being a partner with each other. And how through that process, not only we would really be hooked at the hip, but everything we do over on my side of the business would benefit them over on their side of the business, driving what they do in Nerium Skincare and Nerium Biotechnology. And so we started talking about that, and eventually we made a decision to put together the opportunity. And I sat there remembering this is really going to make history in this industry. For the first time, we're talking about bringing the power of what they can do and connecting it to a direct sales company. And what that would do for us, we could build our own brand built around their research and their science, bring a product line. They showed me all the different products they had in the pipeline that they were thinking about. So it wasn't just one product. You bring out one product and lay out your footprint, but there's a whole line of products that come behind that and how we could do that and go global with it. And I started thinking, this is probably the most real thing I've ever seen. And you've probably noticed the word real is used a lot. And quite honestly, it takes a lot of guts for us to use the word real, because if you're not real, you better not be saying that. But we are a real company. We have real science, we have real results, and that turns into a real opportunity. And before I get into a little bit more about our science and our results, I just want to talk about opportunity in this industry. This industry, there's a lot of companies that come and go. And there's a few that really last and get big long term. And there's some certain things that I've always noticed about the ones that make it long term, and that is they have a solid foundation. And just recently, over the last 8 years, I've seen a whole category evolve in this industry of juices with antioxidants in it and oxidation stress relief. And there have been great products and great companies, but eventually they did not enjoy the success long term because they had a thing called the lack of barrier of entry. What I mean by that, if you can be copied, you will be copied. And so all of a sudden, instead of there being a couple juice companies, there was 10, and then there was 20, and then there was 30 of them, okay? And what they did, they all were growing, and they built a category. But all of a sudden, because they built a category, the retailers like Walmart and Vitamin Shop and CVS, all them, they all of a sudden came up with their versions of the product, and all of a sudden you were competing with the retail people. So you had multiple other companies doing what you're doing and retail, and eventually the foundation for the opportunity eroded. Same thing's going on right now with beans. There's a lot of things about coffee beans. And they're doing the exact same thing. They're saying ours grows in a certain area, so we're getting certain different nutrients because of what's in the ground, and that's why we have this unique different product, just like they did in the juices. Again, I'm not putting them down. The products are great, but what saddens me is I see people get in, they do the work to build, and all of a sudden, because there's not a barrier of entry, all of a sudden there's multiple versions of them in the direct sales industry, and then they build a category large enough that the retailers take it on. And so eventually it erodes, and all of a sudden they don't have the opportunity. What we have here is we have something that has a massive barrier of entry. I mean, what we have here is an exclusive contract with them to market the products. And that what they have here is something that you can't just replicate or duplicate overnight. When you get to see the fields that they do this in, the science going from seed to harvest is as big as the science that goes from harvest to the final product. And they've been working on this for about 15 years. And the things they know, nobody else knows. I asked them, if somebody wanted to duplicate what they're doing, what would it take? And they said, well, if they could figure it out, it might take 10 years. And they're the only ones that even have the fields that do this. I mean, when you see Joel Curtis, the head of farming, this is an individual who's got his degree in farming, and you see what they do and how he talks about this as the field of life. You see how into this they are. And so I started picking up on all that, and I started realizing, wow, we have something here that literally has a massive barrier of entry, and we have the exclusive global contract to market anything that comes from them in the science and everything they know. Besides that, they have a patent pending, not just a regular patent pending, a real patent pending that even if somebody was to learn how to do the fields and then grow the fields, and that's 10 years to get to that point, they still wouldn't have the extraction process to get to what they have that's doing all these miraculous things, okay? So we have something here where you're not going to see 20 or 30 other versions of this. You're not going to see this in department stores. You're not going to see this in infomercials. We have something special and unique to us. And that's strong because that then allows you to drive a comp plan. See, I always see people talking about the comp plan. I always say if you're talking about the comp plan more, you're talking about the product and the marketplace, you got a problem because you have to have a product and a marketplace and then the comp plan works. And that's what you need. And you got to have a barrier of entry so you have the stability to build long term, and then you can go and be a successful company. So when you look at our company, Real Science, just go over to this Nerium Biotechnology, look at their site, look at who their advisory board is, see what Dr. Newman is saying. And I've sat and talked to him, and he's so excited about the prospects of what we can do to take a product to the market and how that can go back and benefit what they do over there. Meet Peter Netterfield. We have videos on all these people on the sites. Here's an individual who's a director of the Templeton Fund, one of the biggest funds there is. It's like a Magellan Fund or a Vanguard Fund. All he does is look at companies and good ideas that can turn into great companies because they're a great idea. And he says this is one of the best ideas he's ever seen and is a game changer in the skin industry. We have the videos on Joel Curtis. You see who he is, Dennis Knoke and who he is, Joe Nestor, what they've done. These are amazing individuals with huge success in their past who really know what they're doing in the science side. You see the results. You see the report from STNT. You see the equipment. We have videos there of the equipment, again, that was used. This equipment's never been used like this. And you hear about Michael Scott, and they talk about, the average company, they come to this lab, STNT. And STNT, understand, if you look at the labs out there on a scale of 1 to 10, they're like a 12. They're one of the most staid, successful, big research labs out there. They're very, very professional. And when we went to them and they brought in Dr. Fan, a board-certified Harvard graduate in plastic surgery to run that study or to review that study, these are people who do things right, first class, under heavy, heavy protocol. And so they use them to do the testing. When they look at a product, what people are looking for is about a 2 to 5% movement in 30 days. They call that significant. And well, you've seen the results we got in 30 days. I'll never forget when the tests were going on, because what happens once they start doing their tests under very strict protocol, we're hands off. We can't even literally almost talk to them about anything because they have to go through this process and be in a position where they can go through all the data with no influence from anybody else. And so they're going through that, and it's a 30-day test, and you've seen all the videos and everything about that. But about 2 weeks into it, I was at my mom's house in Albuquerque visiting, and I got the 2-week report. I'll never forget it because it came in, and the numbers were off the chart. Make 2 to 5% look like nothing. And I remember getting so excited because then I knew we had something. I had the data. They gave me the 21-page write-up with all the links and all that data and researched that and gone through that process. And I knew the results they were talking about were there, but until I saw it under this test, I didn't know for sure we had it. When I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, we have not only real science, we have real results. Because of that, we can build a real opportunity. And because of who these people are, there's a massive barrier of entry. And this is probably the most real thing that potentially ever has hit this industry. At least it's hit this industry since I've been involved, and I've been involved since 1989. And so I knew we had a breakthrough. And then you've seen Don Smothers. Don Smothers has been formulating products in skincare for over 40 years. Matter of fact, he said he's been doing over 50 years. He's done thousands of skincare products, and he says this is the product. It's the breakthrough product. And so when you start seeing things like that, when Peter Netterfield or Dr. Newman or the STNT lab or Dr. Fan, and you start hearing from these people these people just don't attach themselves to anything. You start seeing that this is this company that's based on real science and real results. Matter of fact, I used it myself and I saw the results. I gave to friends and saw the results they had, and I knew there was something special here. So we had an opportunity to do something that's never been done. Literally creating brand partners. The idea of being a brand partner where when you join the company, you could be connected to all this research and you could be a brand partner who goes out there and takes a product to the marketplace and then takes a line of products to the marketplace and you could build it globally. So the great thing about that, you have this and they can't get it anywhere else. See, that's what makes a comp plan work. See, it doesn't matter what the comp plans are. Matter of fact, in this industry, you always hear people talking about comp plans, and when you look at our comp plan, let Dennis Winter take you through it, it's really built for the little guy, the medium guy, and the big guy, and the huge guy. It has everything in it, and we studied everything out there, and it's really, in my opinion, the most real comp plan out there. And I'm not here to put things down. It seems like I am talking about what's happening in these other companies, but even binaries. You're gonna hear a lot of people talk about binaries, and again, I'm not against binaries. What I mean by that, in binaries, the people who are in this industry, they would never join a company who've been in this industry and been doing the industry for some period of time. They would never join a binary if they weren't in what's called, quote unquote, a power leg. What that does for them, in a binary, you're building 2 legs. So as you get put into a power leg, you have half your business already done for you, and all you got to do is build out 1 leg. Well, all the people in the know will never get involved in a binary company unless they're in a power leg. Guess who does not do that? All the people not in the know, the brand new people, new to the industry, they don't have databases, they don't know how to do this, and they get in and they have to build 2 legs. So it doesn't seem right to me that the person who has knowledge, who has experience, who has contacts, who has ability, has to do half the work as the person who has none of those things. I don't think that's right. Again, I'm not trying to be negative, but I just don't think that's right. I think it should be legitimate that a person getting in has the same opportunity if they're willing to work hard as a person who came in before, not somebody who had knowledge about how a comp plan works. So again, we talk about real science. We have that. real results, we have that. And we really do have what I call a real opportunity, because we have that, and then we have the barrier of entry, and then we have what I believe is a comp plan that really has more power, in my opinion, than a binary long-term, something you can really build around and have something long-term for you. And if you really look at all the great companies out there, they were built on a more solid foundation, okay? And that's what we've done here. That leads us to having an opportunity to build a company that does real people. What do I mean by that? So one of the great things about this industry, at least for me, for the people who know me in this industry, I've always been a big proponent of personal development. See, I think this industry is like an incubator for personal development, because personal development is the books you read, the tapes you listen to, and the trainings you go to. That's the high tech information. That's the information and technology that gets into people. But really changes people is the environment and associations you put them in. And that's one of the great things this industry does. It allows us to put people in an environment that's conducive to change and growth. And so it allows you to have a foundation that's fertile for making the personal development information work. And what you'll see from us is we're putting just as much emphasis on personal development as we are on the product. Because I really believe that you got to invest in the product, but you got to invest in the people, and how you do that is personal development. So from day one, we're heavy into personal development. We're not bolting it on later. It's not something we're thinking about as an afterthought. It is just as important to us as the product. For those of you who don't know me, at one time, I was the founder of a company called the People's Network, the largest personal development company ever in the direct sales industry. We produced 937 TV shows around personal development, finances, family, relationships, health, all the different things. I know all the best lectures, New York Times bestsellers. I've spent a couple of days with Oprah talking about personal development. I've been with Dick Snyder, at that time the CEO of Simon Schuster. I spent 4 days with his mansion in Connecticut talking about personal development. I can just say I've been around the personal development industry, and I just know how important it is. And so for us to have an opportunity to bring that in here and create real people, then that leads to the opportunity to have a real life. Build a company around real science, real results, real opportunity, real people. That leads to an opportunity for a real life. We're building around the core values. This is something I want to build to see the world with. Even with the people who work with me, I say this is our last run. This is the one, and I really believe this is the one that can make such a big difference out there. And the next thing I want to do is build a real company. And so it's important to me who we start with. The core values were important, but who are the people we're going to build this around? First thing was to bring my family in. Renee, who I've been with for 7 years, she was a great friend of mine, 18 years, my wife, last 9 years, my best friend. To bring my daughter in, she didn't learn this industry. She grew up immersed in it. And to be able to do that with them, what an experience. I hope your family can get involved like that, because that's how I see this business. But then to reach out to Dennis Winter, one of the first people I've ever really met in this industry, who I looked up to because he was really successful, over 30 years of experience. He's not only been a top distributor, he's been an officer, he's been an owner, he's been an author, he's been a lecturer, but he's just really one of the best people I know out there. He's just an honest, good, real human being. For him to come in and help drive this company. And then Trevor Schofield. Here's an individual who's the chief operating officer of a publicly traded company in this industry, the direct sales industry, for over 20 years, been with them, okay, and operating in 30 countries, and he left them to come here full-time for a startup company. You know why? He sees what I'm talking about, and he has the knowledge to know if what I'm talking about is real or not real. Jeff Branch, who's been banking over 30 years. He's our operation and finance director. And here's an individual, when he was in the banking, he's a director of finance and banking, where they processed over $12.5 billion a day. He's been in the direct sales industry for 16 years, and he sits there from day one. These people have been with us for months, putting this company together. Nancy Higdon, 20 plus years in driving customer service and ethics and compliance. She's been with us for months. Connie Summit, for over 10 years, doing recognition, events, and communication, and she's been with us for months. And then Chelsea Hughes, she's not been in the industry for very long. She's just been with us. But here's an individual who's a brand manager of one of the top advertising agencies and brand companies out there, and she was a brand manager over there, and we got her to leave there and come over here to drive the branding, just as an example type of people. Mary Higbee, who we brought in to just drive our social media marketing. All these people have been with us for a period of time as we put this together, because we knew we had something special. We knew we had a real science, real results, a real opportunity. With that, we could build a real people, bring those together, create a real life, and we wanted to build a company that would give you the foundation to do that. So What I want to do here, more important than anything else, is just get a feel for who we are. You know, you've seen the marketing materials, and you've seen the brochures, and you've seen the website, and it's beautiful stuff. I mean, all this was done from day one in place. I think this is the most sophisticated, integrated launch of a company that I've seen in this industry, but it is the most solid launch I've seen in this industry ever. And the opportunity we have here is unlimited if we together come together and do the right things. So it all starts again with you. All we are is a collective group of people. And I've always said what we do is we individually take responsibility for our success, but then we collectively can make a difference. And what I'm all about here, and I hope you're all about, is not only as an individual be successful, but touch other people, not just with the product, not just with the opportunity, but with who we are, with the personal development, with the environment associations, and what we can do together. And that leads to a real life. So what I'd ask you to do is, we're going to go from here to a talk I did to a group of people in this industry. And just take it in. It's based on a lot of experiences that I've gone through in this industry over the last couple decades. And then we'll come back out of that, back in the studio, and I want to talk to you about the 10 core commandments. I really believe if you take this information and you go through the learn side of it, just listen to these CDs, and you go through the activity, applying them, and you just go back and forth doing that, and modeling the other people out there who've had success, you will become one of the great teachers in this company, and then it's unlimited to what you can have. So go listen to this talk, and when we come out of that, I'll be talking about the 10 core commitments. Thank you.